everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
And back again for another week. We've got Bad Batch. We've got comics, kind of back to the old ball and chain of comics. And it's not going to be 2.5 hours this week, probably.
Yeah, and we're not going to complain as much, I'm sure, either.
You know,
the book was a nice change of pace, but I don't think we were quite in the mindset for a book, so it'll be nice to get back to the comics, honestly.
No, I don't. Yeah, I neither of us were really prepared for a book. I certainly wasn't, and I know that. So my buddy Chase, with These Are the Voyages, he had sent a book that we were going to start talking about in another episode, because I like to go on there and talk books. And I had kind of like the sickening feeling that I needed to do that book this week, like get through it. And so I texted him and I was like, we don't have to do that book this week, do we? He's like, no, it's next week. I was like, well, good, because there's absolutely no way I'm getting through anything this week. But yeah, it was kind of strange, and I social media is a strange thing, and just because somebody likes a post or shares a post doesn't mean that they've actually listened to the episode. But Kevin Scott actually did like the post, the writer of the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, I mean
nice.
that happens, and some of our. It's really the only benefit to Twitter is that there is a lot of sharing, and we've had our stuff shared by quite a few different writers in the past, and it obviously garners a lot more attention when those happen, bigger audiences and whatnot. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. I was like, well, Donnie listened to the episode, but kind of hope he doesn't, because I don't know if he would be all that
right,
pleased.
It wouldn't be alike at that point.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be all that pleased with our review, because again, I mean, like, we don't have to rehash last week. It wasn't a terrible book, but we did have a lot of nitpicks of it. You know, there was unfortunately a lot of nitpicks, writing style, and some of the overall story. So,
well, you'll know if he does read it, because his like will change to like a sad emoji or something. I don't know how you do that with Twitter, if it'd be like Facebook, but
it's literally just liking or you retweet or you quote tweet. So, but yeah, no, to my knowledge, there's no. I mean, you could leave like a GIF, like of a middle finger or something.
Right.
You know, I guess you could do that.
Hey, if we're at the point where we're getting, well-known writers to leave us middle fingers, I feel like we're doing well.
Well, either that or we're doing really poorly. I mean, I think that's subjective.
True enough.
But yeah, so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, rolling back into some comics this week. We're not really behind, but we do have some of those in the backlog. But I obviously do. I think that the books deserve as much attention as anything else, especially when we're talking about like High Republic and whatnot. I think we even have maybe one more or two more High Republic comics that we'll have to get into the mix as well to continue the story a little bit. And I don't think we're going to do the, Race to Crash Point, the sort of like younger kids novel.
Did we decide on not reviewing that or just holding off on it?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm interested enough. I kind of feel like we almost needed to do that before the main book, because it kind of feels like a small side story that goes on at like the exact same time. I mean, we both liked Vernestra, but I don't necessarily feel like we have to get into that, but that's just my opinion.
We're probably not the best channel for young teen novels, truthfully. I mean, we've done a few, but...
Well, it just all depends on...
It's hard for us to be enthused by it.
Well, it depends on the content matter, because like we did the Force Collector, which is a young adult.
That was pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting premise. It just happened to surface around kids, younger kids. And then we did... A Test of Courage. Did we do that one? I know I read it.
Was that the one with Vernesta?
I'm pretty sure that was.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, we did review that one.
okay,
Yes.
yeah, because that was Justina Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, we've had a pretty good mix of different books on here, and we obviously want to continue to do literature stuff, and we'll probably have to decide when we kind of build our next schedule block, maybe if we fit in some New Jedi Order or
Yeah.
I think I had a vote for what was it, New Dawn that we were talking about, sort of the Rebels tie-in. I think
Yeah.
that might be one we need to put in there. But yeah, it's been a little weird. And I guess we can go ahead and just talk about week. But yeah, I haven't really had a particularly great couple of weeks. And I've actually kind of cut out podcasts. I really haven't been listening to much in the podcast line for a little while now. And even some of the audiobooks, like, sometimes I just can't get into it, or my attention span's not like long enough. Like it'll be like very short blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of been a little weird, but yeah. So how was your week though?
Yeah, just quickly skating by the fact that you've had a bad couple of weeks. Yeah, no, honestly, it hasn't been the best, not for any particular reason. It's been extremely hot, and I get very grouchy when I'm always sweating and hot. And other than that, not a whole lot's gone by. No special things to talk about. Just a meh week.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I did want to talk about one little piece of made up Twitter drama that I thought was really stupid.
Something to add to the dumpster fire.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was really dumb because, like, people have these hot takes, right? And I actually saw one maybe yesterday, and it was like, y'all need to get over Grogu. It's like, what the hell are you talking
What
about?
are people talking about Grogu for
They're,
right now?
well, they're not, and that's the thing. It was such a random thing to say. It's like, well, everybody needs to get over this. It's like, get over what? You mean the
there to
character
get
that
over?
you just took out of a show that's now gone? I mean, what's there to get over? What's there to not talk about? I mean, yeah, we talked about it because it's like the only other Yoda species that we've seen aside from Yaddle, and that was very briefly. So I didn't really get that. But the other one that cycled maybe a week or two ago, I think I meant to bring it up in our last episode and I forgot, but there was starting to become some like Dave Filoni hate. And I don't even know if it was like hate. It was just like, well, you guys know that Dave Filoni doesn't actually like write every single episode of Bad Batch and all this other stuff. Like, we really need to stop praising Dave Filoni and start praising the individual writers and stuff. And like, Dave doesn't actually do all that much. He doesn't really write these shows. He doesn't really like do anything. Dave
signs off on everything.
Well, he just overuses Ahsoka and Rex, and they should both be dead by now because like they're just overused characters, and his ego won't let them go. It's like, this is the kind of crap that was being thrown out there. It's like, yes, everyone knows that Dave Filoni doesn't personally write every single episode of every single show. It would be impossible, and in their effort to make sure that there is a diversity of voice within those writer rooms, you're getting multiple people. You're getting multiple directors. You're getting a lot of different storytelling. And I don't remember anyone complaining about seeing Ahsoka in Mandalorian. What else have we seen her in? Really, what else have we seen her in? We haven't.
Season 7 of Clone Wars. That was it.
I mean, did she pop up in the Bad Batch somewhere? I mean,
No.
people were like,
and Rex's portion was very minimal, so you can't even throw that out there.
well, that's the other thing. I think people are getting triggered by seeing Rex. It's like, you do realize that the old guy, supposedly the old man that was seen in Return of the Jedi, like they have kind of labeled that Rex. So if you're gonna,
Right.
I mean, which I think is debatable. I mean, really, when you really think about it, but even if it is, if
you could make it anybody, but it doesn't really matter in the
Sure.
in the grand scheme of things.
sure, but let's just say it is. Who cares? I mean,
Right.
at that
It
point,
doesn't change the movie at all.
no, but at that point, he's lived. So if he shows up once or twice, I mean, what does it matter? It just seemed like such a strange thing to like complain about. It's like
Why you hating
this
on
must
Rex?
well, this must be a really slow slow week for you guys, because like, I mean, this isn't even a take. But I mean, I guess I can sort of understand why some people feel a little bit, I guess triggered would be the word, with Dave Filoni getting all this praise. But it's like, you do realize that when you have a head of anything, and it's the same thing we did with Jon Favreau when Mandalorian was coming out, the animated stuff falls under Filoni's purview. I mean, that it's always been his baby, has been all the animated stuff. And I mean, what do you want? Do you not want to give him praise? And the other thing is they've been saying that he doesn't pay attention to comics. And my answer to that is like, why the hell should he?
Who does? Truthfully, I mean, yes, this is a podcast where we're doing comic reviews, but who truly pays attention to it, and what does that have to do with the animation style that he's doing? It's completely separate. It's not canonically wrong in any way, so I don't feel as though he should obsess over the comics.
Well,
it's not his baby.
One of the things they talked about is Senator Toff from our last episode, like he was shot. And the automatic assumption is, oh, you killed him, but he was available in this book or this comic. It's like, you do realize he may or may not be dead, right? I mean, even in this episode, which we'll get to, didn't necessarily point to the fact that he was dead. The issue is that he's probably still alive, and maybe they'll explain that, or maybe they won't. But honestly, like,
and they even mention it's an attempted assassination.
Yeah, exactly. So I cringe a bit at the way some of these people jump on these little and listen, we are the detail guys, right? I mean, we remember every detail known to man.
We don't have jobs. This is all we do.
It just
30 hours a day of detail research.
Yeah, it just seems stupid. And again, not to bash comics, but I really don't care. I mean, I don't.
Comics are a nice little tidbit. That's all they are. They really don't. This isn't Marvel.
No,
it doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things.
Well,
like Weapon of the Jedi, cool comic. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter one bit.
No, I mean, it's just a little extra content. But I mean, the thing is if you take every comic as gospel, then you would have Vader riding on a horse.
Right. And you would have Aphra changing her appearance every 5 seconds.
Well, yeah, that's... Yeah.
So you'd have to change the actor if you ever made an Aphra movie and you wanted to be so obsessed with the comics, you'd have to change the actress every like 5 minutes.
Yeah, her animation or her illustration has always been very, very weird. It's constantly changing.
Yeah,
but I mean,
as far as these comments on Twitter go,
you have to give illustrators some creative leniency. So I don't want to harp on that too much. But sorry, go ahead with what you were saying.
Well, as far as the tweets you had mentioned, I mean, did people really comment on it, or was it just kind of dead in the air?
No,
did it really trigger that many people?
Yeah, this is the problem with Twitter. It always winds up being a dog pile. It just winds up being a dog pile. Oh, yeah, you're totally right. Great take. You know, oh, yeah, Dave Filoni, you know, he doesn't really do anything. You know, and he didn't do Resistance. It's like, yeah, because so many people really cared about Resistance. No offense.
And I'm okay with that.
I wasn't a huge fan of Resistance, and, you know, it is what it is. I understand that it just wasn't really made for my demographic. That's definitely a kid's show. I mean, just like I'm not interested in Visions. I'm just not. I don't see the point in it, because I discussed that on the show that I did on my own. I looked at the art. I saw what they were trying to do. I don't understand it, and it does. I mean, it looks good, but I mean, a lot of that anime sort of animation does look good. I just don't particularly get it. But I'm also not an anime. I don't watch anime. It's never been my thing.
Thing about anime, and I think it kind of goes with Resistance too, because they focused on animation more. You lose focus on the storytelling portion of it for the visual portion. Well, that's usually what ends up happening.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, yeah, Twitter's always a dog pile. You know, feel free to follow us on, you know, Twitter at TC Plan Podcast. But like, yeah, I found that to be particularly strange. Again, nobody is saying that Dave Filoni writes and directs and does everything for every single episode. But what we are saying is that he has been responsible for continuing to push great animated content. And if he trods on a comic, I mean, so what? American comics are dying. Like the Japanese comics have taken over pretty much everything. Like Marvel, I'm convinced is only being held together by their movies, by the cinematic universe. They're not being held up by their comic book sales. If that were the case,
that was back in the '60s through '90s.
I don't even
that's
think it was really
going
the
away.
'90s, but up to that far. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it definitely had its time, but like people are buying comics, but they're not buying them in that abundance to where it would outweigh the cinematic. So
Yeah. Well, most people who watch the movies don't really know anything about the comics, and I'm kind of in
Sure.
that camp too. I didn't read the comics growing up. I know all these superheroes, but that was mainly from the cartoons. Truthfully,
no, and I think that's okay. I mean, I went and I watched Black Widow. I think that would have been Friday. I think we vaguely talked about that.
it was right before we recorded. Yeah, so Friday.
Yeah, so I went out and saw it because I always thought there should have been a Black Widow movie, period. I think it was dumb to put it after you had already killed her off. But
Yeah.
I guess they're trying to make, a tie-in for well, I guess without spoil, you haven't seen it. Do you even care are you going to see that?
I mean, I think it's still like $40 on Disney, so I'll have to go to a theater. I might try to, sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me either way.
Well,
truthfully.
basically they're setting up another character is what it is.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that they had in there was, if you want to talk about canon, is wrong.
Oh, really?
Well, and we talked about this. Like Black Widow is not superhuman. I mean,
True.
there's some.
Oh, yeah.
There
Yeah,
are some
Gotcha.
lines where she had some basically peak human strength, kind of like, I still can't remember his name. I remember not remembering Hawkeye, but human. And in this movie, they throw her around, and there's so much stuff done to her, just violence wise, that you would think she really was superhuman.
Yeah.
And even some of the other ancillary characters are just different. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but when I see people harp on canon, but then they also love everything Marvel does, like puts out cinematically, it's like, so with one hand, you are going to say Dave Filoni screws up everything in comics and trods on canon. And then in the other hand, you're going to say, oh, yeah, man, I love like the 10 million different things that they do in Marvel to change things up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it all sounds really disingenuous, and especially sounds disingenuous when you're considering a lot of that drama comes from Twitter. So
Yeah.
it's wild. It is a wild thing. Well, anyway, you ready to actually jump into things that we were going to talk about this week?
Sure.
The real
Yeah,
meat and
get into
potatoes.
a little bit of Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Fried potatoes, to be more specific.
Episode 12, Rescue on Ryloth. So, we obviously had kind of a cliffhanger in our prior episode. We met a young Harrison Dula.
Which I guess is another character that Filoni overuses.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, nobody's ever going to be happy. But, we have Chopper, Chamson Dula, Hera's father, and her mother as well, who we do know was killed later. And I am happy that they didn't do, spoilers, that they didn't do that in this episode. Like, because it's kind of it was one of those things where I had to go back and look it up. She basically died while fighting the Empire, so I had hoped that they weren't going to do that in this, and it would have been super early anyway. But I think that was a good call not to do that. I was kind of dreading them trying to put that in here. But
Yeah, I would agree.
But we did leave off where the Syndulas were arrested. Hera was able to get away, and she's kind of been hiding out. and we kind of open our episode with the Syndulas plus non-blood uncle. And this admiral, this was Rampart, right? The admiral.
Yes, it was Rampart.
And our new clone trooper. Oh shoot, what was his name?
Hausen. Was it Hausen?
Hauser, right? I think it was
Hauser.
I think it was Hauser.
Yeah.
And I did see some stuff on Twitter about like, oh, where's this guy from? He's from nowhere. He's a new guy. But the interesting thing about Hauser is he clearly doesn't seem to be controlled by that chip. And I did see some theories, and we might as well just jump into this now. I did see a few people talk about the degrading of chips, and potentially the older they get, the more degraded the chips get, which, to be honest with you guys, I think is BS because they haven't really been alive all that long. And
I don't think the communes would be that bad at engineering a chip that it couldn't stand 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand if we were talking like 50, 60 years, but if we're not talking that long a time period. But it does seem like Hauser is not really being controlled by this chip. He's questioning things, which I find kind of interesting in a way, and that comes up a little bit later in the episode as well. But this admiral is very adamant that he wants Hera. He even kind of threatens, Cham with basically it's like, tell me where she is, or I might kill her or something. But if you tell me, I won't kill her. I promise. Right.
It's kind of because I'm going to trust you. It's kind of funny how they all assume that they're going to know where she is. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Hera's pretty. I mean, obviously these characters would know it, but she's not going to just follow orders. She's going to make her own way and choose her own spot to hide out. She's not just going to pick a predestined location from her parents.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously with the father she has, the hammer, as I was reminded this week was his nickname, which is a sick nickname. But she not only has that for father, but also has this non-related uncle, and she's clearly picked things up. She's not Rebels Hera, but she's definitely getting there. So she is hiding out in one of her father's old bases, and at this point, she does make attempts to make contact with Omega, who gave her comm frequency for emergency purposes. Which was kind of interesting, seeing as they only had a very limited interaction. But
yeah, and there was no emergency at the time, so there'd be really no reason to do that. But that's fine.
It's like, oh yeah, pretty sweet ship, really like it. I gotta go. Oh, here, by the way, take this emergency comlink channel. You never know when you might need it.
Just in case your parents get arrested and stuff happens. I got you.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny, and it's also interesting that throughout this episode, we see Omega very clearly having to influence the rest of the Bad Batch to kind of do the right thing. Because initially, at least Hunter was against going and helping Hera because it's not their fight. They can't just drop everything to fight everyone's battle and everything. And Omega was like, well, isn't that what soldiers do? Fine, kid, let's do it.
It's funny. It's almost like she's becoming a bit of a leader in the group in a way. Like she's pushing Hunter out of the leader role.
Well, I mean,
isn't really all that difficult with how he is, but
exactly. And we've always kind of like never been all that like impressed with Hunter. I mean, what exactly does he really bring to it? So. I just don't know. He just seems to be the person that makes the final decision, but he seems like super easy to influence here. But
my thing is like, how did he earn? And we'll probably never get this backstory, but like, how did he earn all of their respect?
Well,
because to some extent, like Wrecker, you're gonna have to earn his respect. Like Rex, at first he just wanted to pop his head like a cherry, but then eventually he got Wrecker's respect, and he would actually listen to him. How'd Hunter get there?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And actually, just now, as you know, we usually have the episode in the back. Rampart does say that Senator Ta is recovering. By the way, so that was
Yeah.
indeed confirmed. Sometimes when I watch episodes, my attention fades or I get back in. So, but yeah, it is confirmed. But again, that was like a hot topic last week for some people.
Well, he did get shot in the head, so I can see why some people would just assume that and not look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, the Bad Batch does scout out the city, and again, they're like, "Nah, we can't do this. There's too much. It's not gonna happen." And then Omega's like, "But we can." Okay, sure. What's the plan? And effectively, what their plan winds up being is that Omega and Hera and Chopper effectively go to disable the cannon surrounding the refinery that we saw in the first episode, while Wrecker and Tech will shoot them down. They're causing a distraction to draw the troops from the city to the refinery, and then Hunter and Echo will go in and save the Syndulas. That's the plan. Unfortunately, Crosshair and his group are also on the planet. They do get a little picture from a Viper droid that shows that the Bad Batch is on the planet, and so he's more cautious. And I guess we are kind of like running through the episode pretty quickly. Feel free to stop if there's anything that you think has any meaning aside from what I'm already saying here. But essentially, we do kind of move on with the plan. Chopper doing his sneaky Chopper stuff. He is not able to.
He fits in, of course.
Oh yeah, he's basically the same droid as he was in Rebels. But he wasn't able to shut down the cannon, so Omega and Hera have to steal a shuttle, which looks like a bigger version of the little shuttle that they always attach to the Ghost, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And they take control of one of those and shoot I guess the power distribution system there. So we are able to take out the cannons. The distraction works as well as it can, but Crosshair was not convinced of this particular ruse, and he and his team stay with a battalion awaiting the attempted escape. And I think that this might draw to the most interesting. Actually, I'll tell you one thing that I found really funny was when Chopper judo chopped two of those troopers. I mean, he shocked them, but he clearly just did a straight chop to them. I thought that was really funny, chopped their knees.
Yeah. Chopper is the best droid in all of Star Wars, other than R2-D2. So I mean,
yeah, I mean, I like R2, but Chopper's he's a little bit more versatile. I enjoy Chopper a lot. So anyway, we do get to the point where the escape is sort of underway. However, Hauser, and this is what I find most intriguing about the episode, is Hauser stops them before they enter the courtyard where they would, I don't know, maybe be shot
gunned down, essentially.
Yeah, probably. And he says, it's a trap. You gotta go another way. Let me talk to them. And as Hauser goes out to address the men, a few of them actually do lay down their weapons. As he tells them, it's like, we
quite a few.
Yeah, it's like we fought, to save Ryloth, liberate it. What are we doing? It's time to drop our weapons. Not everybody does, but a few do, and I think that we're starting to see the actual problem with the clones is that eventually they are not controllable. And the interesting thing will be is if it's going to be blamed on the chip or just on the actual individual. Now, I hope it's more on the individual. This is maybe the legacy of Jango Fett, who, despite
fights control.
Well, yeah, I mean, who I guess in a lot of ways some people don't give a lot of credit to because most of the credit is lost in non-canon. But, for me, I kind of think that he was a much stronger character than we give him credit for. And then at that point, maybe that little bit of resistance, and then all the things that these clones have sort of learned and grew their own individual personalities through this process. You know, they're creating names for themselves and all this good stuff. Maybe some of that is starting to fight the control, which I find to be the most interesting part of this episode, and I'll be interested to see if that actually has any merit as we roll along.
Yeah, and I would agree that's much more interesting than chip failure or anything like that. The only thing that affects, and I agree with it, I'm not saying this is a reason to disprove it, but you go back to like Cody and Rex not being able to fight it, it is disappointing to think that they didn't, have the mental fortitude, the strength to fight it when Cody was pretty close with Obi-Wan and Rex with Ahsoka, obviously. It's disappointing, but it is a logical way to look at it. It's a good way to think that they're able to fight it.
Well, I guess I'm not necessarily talking about them really mentally fighting it. I'm just starting to think about their experiences and sort of their natural personalities and their natural selves kind of coming out and overriding programming. Not that they're actually physically or mentally fighting it. Because like with Rex, he's a first gen, right? I don't remember about Cody, if he was or not. I don't think
there's a lot of info on Cody, truthfully. Cody's really not that popular of a character. I always liked him, but people don't talk about him much.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact is that, like with Rex maybe being first gen, how would he have any sort of, I don't know, aside from just learning over years. But again, who knows? I'm talking out of my rear end because I don't know anything about cloning or anything like that. But like, I think it would be.
It could have to do with the generations as well. Like you said, maybe third generation is, they don't have as much of a connection as Rex would. So it's, maybe the chip is genetically designed to control, say, Django. And as they go generation to generation and that breaks down, the genes of it, maybe they're not able to control them as easily.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
It'll be interesting to see sort of what more becomes of it. But this is obviously like a big problem for the Empire, and obviously more of a reason for them to kind of go to the conscripted or volunteer-based soldier that they eventually did when they got away from the clones. So I don't know. I think it's interesting, but yeah, not everybody threw down their weapons. I still think that there will be some sort of come to Jesus moment with Wrecker. And another thing I was surprised about, I'm actually kind of surprised that like.
You mean Crosshair?
Or excuse me, yes, Crosshair. I'm surprised that Crosshair didn't take out Hauser right there.
I am as well. I totally expected him to during the speech before it would have affected anybody.
Yeah. Granted, violent, but still, you also showed Todd getting shot in the head last week, so,
yeah.
I mean, why not? But they're just arrested. And that to me, I don't know. I don't know what that particularly means for the long run. But we do have a somewhat happy ending here. We've got the Syndulas going off. The Bad Batch isn't accepting payment. Stupid. But didn't accept payment for the rescue. And then that's kind of parting ways. And really the last thing is we now have Crosshair basically free to go hunt the Bad Batch. But with a lot of his facial cues in here, it kind of is he excited? Is he conflicted? Is there something going on?
Well, it makes you wonder if he's contemplating what happened with the other clones.
Right.
Basically committing treason.
Well,
fighting a chip.
Well, I'm just, like I said, I still think you have to do something with the fact that he got like burned, with that whole thing, and now he's got all the scarring and so forth, like,
which isn't really that bad in this episode. This is the first episode we see his face unwrapped completely. It's like
the side of his
that's it.
Side of his face is kind of gross. I mean, it's
a little bit.
It's kind of gross.
For what happened to him, not gross enough, but yeah,
sure,
yeah, a little bit.
So anyway, I'll be interested to see if they do anything with that. I kind of feel like it'd be a lost opportunity. It's like So you burned him for what? Like what purpose? Just to do it? You couldn't
Make him look more evil.
I mean,
essentially.
make a plot point out of it. That's all I would have thought. But hey, all's well that ends well, I guess, at this point. And certainly a little bit more, concentrated around the Bad Batch in the last episode, which was not. Here's some weapons. Bye.
Back to Hera.
Yeah.
You like Chopper more than the Bad Batch anyway. Come on, just enjoy the episode.
Well, I think for some people that is probably very true. But I was just getting this part where we were having like Crosshair's sort of reaction, and it is kind of funny because he is looking around like when he's you go hunt him. He's looking around, and it kind of looks like maybe he has a grin, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. There's something more to that. I really gotta hope that they do something more, and they don't just make him just like a cold-blooded killer,
Yeah, I mean, at some point, we've had a decent amount of time with Crosshair. Granted, not necessarily in this show, but in Clone Wars. And honestly, he was one of my favorite characters of the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was the coolest build. I'm into snipers quite a bit when you're talking like RPGs and whatnot. So I always thought that he would be the best character, and it's kind of disappointing that he's not. He has no strength to fight this. I mean, with the mentality of a sniper, I think it's kind of odd that he's not at least trying to fight this indoctrination a little bit.
Sure. Well, I mean, in all, I think he was just sort of the one that already had some leanings towards, possibly not like doing the right thing at all times, I guess, kind of a bit of a loner within the group. So it made sense that he would be the one who turned. But yeah, I mean, sniper mentality, not that either of us are snipers, but I mean, you are thinking more independently. There are orders, but you have to adapt. So for him not to adapt is, it is what it is. I think they're just creating a villain more than thinking through the entire scenario. But I do hope that they bring that back at some point. So, yeah, that was Bad Batch. What do you think rating-wise?
Not as good as last week, but fairly close. I like this arc we're going with right now, and yeah, it's a bit of bias towards being a fan of Rebels. I know it's not really Bad Batch related as much, but I do appreciate that they tied that in. So I would say we're doing at 10 for episodes, correct?
Yeah.
I would say an 8. See, I hate this because I can't remember last week's rating, and I don't want to rate it higher.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with... I'm fairly certain I went above 8.5, so I'll go with 8.4.
Yeah, I don't remember what we do ratings from last week. I don't really care.
Yeah,
but
I don't think anybody does.
No, I mean, I actually liked it a little bit better than last week's episode. So whatever I gave it last week, I'll give it more, but I don't remember what that was, so I'll just say an 8.5. Because I don't remember. So
it automatically drops last week's. Last week's rating does not matter.
Yeah, whatever.
It's an 8.4.
I don't know. All right. Well, we've got 2 comics to look at here. We want to do Aphra first, or what are you thinking?
Well, do you want to start with your favorite or your least favorite of the two?
I mean, they're both okay. Let's just do Aphra to get the bounty hunters stuff out of the way.
Least favorite. Got it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was okay, but yeah,
no, it was a good episode.
We're still
episode.
Yeah, issue. We're still War of the Bounty Hunters here. No Aphra face on the cover though, so we don't have to see how she's changed yet again.
It's actually a pretty consistent episode. Or I'm gonna say it again.
Yes.
Issue. Yes, very consistent issue compared to the last few we've done.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I think it was a little bit more solid than some of the others, but basically Aphra has been sent after, and Sana have been sent after Eben Drake, who is a cousin.
Cousin. cousin.
Of our sort of crime-ish lord. And we sort of start with him eating these dodgy eggs, which they say are exotic caviar, but they're totally just giant purple eggs.
Yeah.
And I know, yes, caviar is eggs. Yeah, but they're like little teeny tiny eggs. I mean, this is just a full-blown egg. And Aphra and Sanadu track them down, but when they come onto the egg ship, everybody is dead. Mm-hmm. What did she call these creatures? She identified them a little later in the comic. I have to...
Started with an A. I can't remember.
No, I didn't. It started with a C.
Wait, are you talking about after we find Drake?
Yeah, she named what the creatures are, because basically these eggs they turn into creatures that burrow into your head and all that good stuff. That's stupid.
I'm almost there. Hold on.
It's always one of those things that, when you need to find exactly what. Oh, Cymote.
Cymotes?
Yeah, Cymote. I'm going to call them Cymotes. But yeah, they apparently just lay eggs in your head. So the egg laid an egg in the head, and then they did brain stuff. So, yeah.
Totally not a ripoff from anything else at all.
No, not at all. But anyway, everybody's dead. And they find, even here with the invitation to the Han Solo auction that, of course, totally happened and is totally not trotting on anything.
And we, of course, have our new bounty hunter who's just already gone.
Yeah, kind of an interesting addition here. Dirge, which, of course, this is called Dirge. I mean, that's right on the cover.
I think it's funny how much they made it seem like it was going to be all about him, but he really didn't play much a big part of this at all.
Well,
he's gone quickly.
Yeah, the comic makes it seem like there's a conflict with Aphra and Dirge, but really is not. He comes here to collect the bounty as well on Drake, and he's dead. So
it's more like, well, before this can be a conflict, I'm just going to go ahead and kill you.
Yeah. Now, in between, this whole Dirge showing up, we do have Lucky and an old Areoli, or however we want to say his name. Kind of a sidebar. They also have an invitation to this particular thing. But they're looking to sort of assassinate, I guess, an old friend. Somebody that they knew as kids, killing family, pseudo-family, I don't know. I do find it funny that they put their names, like, in the panel, like, in their own little things. It's like, it's almost like they've been listening to our reviews and we don't remember the names of some of these people. It's like, well, here they are.
We know that you don't like these people. We know that they're not interesting, so we're just going to make sure you remember their names.
Just Lucky.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah, Just Lucky and Ariel, you. Remember it.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess that's helpful. But yeah, they just kind of plopped him in there, whatever. But back to Dirge. Dirge, Aphra, and Sana kind of sort of make a deal to sort of, I don't know, team up at least for now. And Dirge is like, what is this guy? He's like
he's essentially like a hybrid droid guy of some kind. It's weird.
Yeah, he's kind of like an old armored like paladin thing or whatever
or something.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but he does. Well, he's also got this this ball thing, like on a chain, 2 balls on a chain. It's like, I guess you could use that. I don't remember what it's called, but you see them sometimes in movies where they throw them at people's legs and they spin around and like
to
they trip
wrap
you.
around, trip them up. Yeah.
But how
are you gonna use it with these creatures? Like, how is that useful?
Yeah, I don't really understand.
Crush them.
Yeah, I don't understand why he has them. I mean, again, that would be probably my guess, is you could trip somebody up. Seems like he drops them along the way, but that was like, it's on the panel. He has it in his left hand. It's like, I've got balls of steel. It's like an old Duke Nukem. Jeez.
Tuco.
Yeah, you see what kind of week this has been. It's funny, a little sidebar. Because we do that here. I do have another project that we'll talk about later, and I started that project last night. And the person that I'm doing with the side project with, we were gonna like, get on Zoom, do the whole thing, it'd be real great. And then like 2 hours beforehand, the internet goes down here. Like they were saying the fiber got cut or something like that. And it was out all night, so couldn't do Zoom. Tried to
That sucks.
Well, tried to FaceTime, because we both had iPhones. Couldn't FaceTime, connection wasn't strong enough. So it's like the internet's down, the phone reception is spotty. We did it by a call, which I was like, this is going to drop. And it didn't, thankfully. But like just one thing after the other. It's just been that week.
Oh, come on. We had plenty of luck with that back in the day.
No, we
a
didn't.
month ago.
It sucked.
No, I'm kidding.
God, that's yeah.
It was terrible.
Well, we did. We used to do this. You called me on the phone, and we would do that. And it's just so much better when you actually see a face. It's better in person.
Yeah.
But it's better if you can at least see a face. And I was like, if this doesn't fix itself by the morning, there will be no podcast on Monday because I'm not dealing with it. I was just so frustrated. But anyway, back to Aphra and Dirge and Sana running away and shooting things, and Dirge's gun gets bigger somehow.
Yeah.
That's totally not an affectation. It literally just does get like bigger, I guess. And then
Not anime stuff at all going on.
Yeah,
nothing like that.
Well, I like Sana here. That's a neat trick. I know. Great dialogue here, folks. Well, anyway, Aphra's whole thing is like, well, you know what would really help them is like, if we, just put them out the airlock. They're sensitive to changes. Yeah, cool. I'll totally be the distraction. Dirge away.
They're sensitive to suffocation.
Yeah, it's like, well, no duh. Anyway, so Dirge is doing the hard work. They're all over him. And Aphra stops Sana. They put him in an airlock and blow him all out. And he's like, I trusted you. We had a deal.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, he was really dumb. And then all the bugs splat out in the vacuum of space. And it sort of as we leave that particular scene, let's see. Well, there was a little dialogue here, Sana. Let's get off this ship while we can, and before you jettison anybody else without warning me first. Excuse me, I solved the problem for us. Besides, you heard the guy. He's notoriously hard to kill, so the inference is he'll be back, and he'll probably be angry. I assume he'll be back. That makes sense.
Making an enemy out of a non-enemy because I thought that he'd be an enemy. It's great.
Well, he's kind of stupid. He should have probably known. I mean, like Aphra double crosses pretty much everybody at one point or another. That's kind of her thing.
But of course, if he's like a full robot, like you said, he's going to be back.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, he's going to get picked up by some ship eventually.
Yeah, or his ship. Maybe he can remote his ship to him or something. That would be smart. So next, the last basically 2 pages are just calling in to was it Proxima here and just giving the report. And it's like, oh yeah, I got this invitation. It's pretty sick. Well, hey girls, just go ahead and go. It'll be fun.
Yeah, just go for me. It's fine. Just enjoy yourself.
Enjoy the party. Maybe murder a few people. It'll be great. She didn't say murder people. I just assumed they will murder people because that's kind of what happens. So yeah, there we go. That's kind of the end of this particular comic. And then we pick back up. Do you realize that this whole thing really, I mean, because like the next page, at least in the comic I have, there is stuff War of the Bounty Hunters all the way through October. Like we are going to have to deal with this War of the Bounty Hunters and just bounty hunter stuff.
Basically the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Like, I'm kind of done with it.
Have we actually gotten an announcement how many issues there's going to be?
Well, I mean,
I figured it'd be 4.
No, I mean,
personally.
legitimately, what I'm saying is, like, on this back page, I know you don't have this one yet, right?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
I have a stack of comics, obviously, here for you. But no, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
each month has like 5 to 6 comics in it. And the individual, like, main War of the Bounty Hunters entitled series, that's up to 5 issues just on this page. I don't know if they go past that, but October, I mean, we're still even getting that. So, like, Bounty Hunters,
Right.
this whole thing sort of seems like it is going throughout the rest of the year. And then we have other stuff here. We've got a Forlom and Zuckus one-off. We've got an IG-88 one-off.
Okay, I'd be okay with IG-88, but I don't want more Forlom. We've had enough.
Jabba the Hutt one-off. Bosch one-off. Oh, God, really? Bosch? Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Who wants Bosch?
But I'm just saying, like, that they're making a ton of one-offs and then just continuing this whole thing. I'm so, I don't know. Obviously, we'll continue, but there needs to be a little bit more meat in these potatoes for me to be interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're gonna tie all these mainline series together, you got to tell me why. I mean, again, the Darth Vader premise got really shaky. He just wants to kill him because I have to kill things around Luke before I kill Luke. It's like, get over yourself. Aphra at least bleeds into bounty hunters because she's kind of she's not really a bounty hunter, but she kind of fits in that mold a little bit better. Right. But the main line, I mean, yeah, they're trying to rescue the friend, but it's like, we already know what happens to Han. We already know how they rescue him.
Tie that in.
So, anyway, we'll see. But let's go ahead and move on to this Weapon of the Jedi. And like I said, I'm not a huge. I don't dive into the adventures. So this is Star Wars Adventures. This is basically meant for kind of a younger audience. And originally, I mean, I buy them because sometimes they're interesting, but the stories can often be a little bit more goofy or a little bit more basic. But when I started looking at this, it's like Weapon of the Jedi. Well, this could be interesting. And I took a look at a couple panels in the shop, and I was like, I'm gonna get this. And then I was like, oh, well, this is actually kind of an interesting little story that is centered around Luke with what I am assuming timeline-wise is. I mean, I actually didn't really look this up or really think about it all that much. I want to say this is probably before 5.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I was kind of assuming this is basically right. I don't want to say right after A New Hope, but very, very closely after.
Well, what did they give him rank-wise here? Because I think they called him Lieutenant, didn't they? Yeah, so right now he's just being called Lieutenant Skywalker.
Yeah.
And he's running missions for the Rebellion at this point. So, God, could you just you're just going to call him Lieutenant after, like, the Death Star? So are we saying that, like, they didn't?
Like, how are you going to do that?
Are you saying, like, they didn't blow up the Death Star yet? Are we, like, in 4? I don't think so. Maybe.
I mean, he really wasn't a pilot before 4. His first time out was...
Well, listen.
Essentially the Death Star.
I mean, he was totally a pilot, just not like a pilot.
Yeah. Best in the galaxy, unproven.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting, but essentially this story arc, we do have Luke out on missions, and this first part was like a little sort of escort mission.
Yeah.
But he's starting to get the Force kind of pushing at him. It's like the Force is trying to tell him something. And on their way back to the base, he meditates on it as R2 kind of takes over control of the ship.
Which, by the way, I don't know why I found this so entertaining, but like throughout the entire comic, iconic R2 noise, sure, everyone knows it, but the comic decides to describe it as VREEEET. Breet. I don't know why I thought that was so entertaining.
Goodness, man. I mean, come on. What are we doing? What are we even talking about? Oh, and by the way, so not to be like a complete couple of noobs here, this actually was this is essentially, I believe, like a comic adaptation, I suppose. I think of a novel, if I remember correctly. I'm actually
really?
going to look that up. Yeah, so I don't know exactly how well this follows or what it does. I never read this, but this was part of the. You know, when the movies were coming out, when the sequel movies were coming out, you had these Journey 2s. So this was one of the Journey to Force Awakens, written by Jason Fry. So I never read it. I don't know anything about it really. Do I?
That's interesting, though.
Pretty sure I don't have it. I mean, I have some of those somewhere. But at any rate, yeah, what I am imagining, at least, you know, just sort of guessing that this is, I mean, it does say based on the novel by Jason Fry. So I don't know how loosely or tightly they're keeping that. But if for those of you who have maybe read the book, okay, cool. Let us know if you see like differences between the book and the comic. Normally, you usually get a pretty flat rate on that sort of stuff. So that's technically good most of the time, I would say.
Maybe that's why we like this comic more.
Possibly.
The last few we've done.
Possibly. So anyway, Luke. Well, and the other reason why you'll oftentimes see this is to get the visual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to get the visual. It's the same sort of thing between, you know, getting the movies and then the book adaptations, because the books oftentimes give you a little bit more general sort of plot pacing and or extra sort of
Thoughts
stuff
of the characters and whatnot
that you don't get in the movie. So anyway, Luke has a vision here. He's sort of standing in some ruins. He has his lightsaber drawn, and there are a couple of the training remotes, like the ones Han kept for blaster practice aboard the Millennium Falcon. Now, this is interesting because I never thought about it. I just knew that there was a training remote on the Millennium Falcon, but
I don't know why I thought Ben had it.
Well, no, I always thought it came from the Falcon, but I never really stopped to think about why would Han have one of those. So he's doing it for blaster practice. Han's force sensitive, confirmed. Just kidding. I just thought that was kind of funny.
He doesn't believe in that hokey religion.
Yeah, I just got the picture of like Han doing his roll, you know, his Han roll around in the compartment, like shooting at it or something. Maybe he does the old patented Han charge maneuver, you know. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. But it's interesting that they put that in writing. It just made me think a little bit. It's like, yeah, that's right. It was Han's training remote, not Ben's training remote. So realistically, the training remote, other people use. Other people have found a use for it. It's not just like the Jedi using it.
Not Jedi.
People are which coincidentally, good for Han. Good for Han.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to have it.
So you have Chewie try and, you know, train with it, and he just blows it up with the bowcaster.
Yeah, exactly. He just swats it. So to continue on in his vision, the force is strong in this place. I can feel it all around me, a living thing like wind in rain. But there's something else here, something dark lurking nearby. Something. And then he wakes up. And I do like some of the banter between the pilots here because, again, this is like, I mean, it's Lieutenant Skywalker. This isn't like the hero of the Empire. It's like, hey, man, we got a mission for you. You know, like, is your head in the game? You good? Good to go?
Hey, you, the one that blew up the Death Star. Are you good to do this mission? Can you handle it? Is that too much for you?
Yeah, okay. You're going to take the two-seater this time. I thought that was funny. You're going to take the two-seater. Oh, yeah, here's your, oh, yeah, you know C-3PO. It's going to be a C-3PO episode, didn't you know? Mm-hmm. So anyway, he is, where were they heading? Let's see. I think there were a couple of different stops that they were going here, but anyway, his cover is what is it, like a hyperspace scout or something like that?
Yeah, going to claim a stake for some kind of fuel.
Tabana gas,
thing.
wasn't it?
Tabana gas. Yeah, Tabana gas.
Now, what I did really like about this comic was when he sort of gets accosted by some Imperials, and
Yeah,
the way
it's almost a Han thing.
well, that's what I liked about it. He plays it off. He actually like uses some skill to talk about it. This is like a little bit more playful Luke, you know, not like super serious Luke. And I don't know about you, but like those are the sort of things that I kind
of my
miss.
favorite Lukes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he even at one point like gets a hold of like 3PO and he's giving him like a noogie. It's like, oh yeah, this guy makes like really good stew. You know, he's super cool. But like he's calm under pressure. He has his story down. He's not worried. It's like he's obviously kind of been on missions now. He's not like the awkward kid that we saw in 4. He actually has some experience behind him, which I thought was really cool.
Kind of the like only thing that's disappointing for me still about the new trilogy is we just didn't get that entertaining Luke.
Yeah.
And this was always my thing growing up. He was so goofy yet so powerful. It's almost like an anime trope, like the super awkward goofy kid who's also ridiculously powerful. But that's what made you love him.
Well, but the thing is like the way he's acting here, and yeah, I agree with you. But the thing he's doing is like, you know, he's trying to be a little playful. He's like, oh yeah, man, I'm like a hyperspace scout. You know, I'm just out doing my thing. I got some Tabana gas.
You're not gonna steal my claim, are you?
Yeah, but yeah,
that's mine.
Exactly. And see that right there is how like a normal kind of unscrupulous person would even act. It's like, you're not gonna steal. It's like, we're not interested in your gas. Like, good,
right.
Don't do it. Okay. It's like it's a confidence that will.
I'm doing something important enough that the Empire would actually try and take it from me.
Well, not just that, but it's going to be a little bit more disarming for this Imperial. It's like, okay, yeah, go about your way. This is more trouble than it's worth, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just kind of like that. However, we do have this planet Deveron, and he's basically he feels like he's being pulled, but he's kind of fighting against it, and they do go off, but they encounter a very interesting ship. I mean, what is this? It's like it literally looks like something that would haul trash.
Right.
I mean, it's
but like honestly, when you go to the pages with the Imperials, it's like you're dealing with a destroyer.
Yeah, and what was the rank of this particular? I guess I thought the commander of this was only like a lieutenant or something, because it seemed like
he's a lieutenant, and then there's an ensign.
Yeah, it's like
him.
Right. The second was only an ensign, so this is to me like a low.
It's not an important ship.
No, yeah, it's a low priority ship commanded by a lieutenant, which, you know, if I want to get nerdy about,
probably too many ties, to be honest.
Probably. But it's probably like maybe like a reinforcement ship or something that would like a crew carrier or something like that. And not to be too nerdy, but like in the old world of like naval history, a lieutenant would actually, you know, take over ships that were like troop carrier ships or like these sort of low significant. They're not warships, basically. So they're not the big bomber type things.
Transports, essentially.
Transports, exactly. So I think that this is actually like remarkably accurate to like historical naval. So
that's just weird to see.
Yeah, that attention to detail I really appreciate, because I read old naval books. But anyway, Luke with his ship here. And I was actually going to ask you this. So this is very clearly like a bomber that we see a ton with the rebels, and it's like this was the ship that you chose to put him on.
Right.
It's
the
not
slowest thing possible.
Well,
like what were you going to do with it?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like
what were you going to attack?
Yeah, it just seems so synonymous with like the rebellion that what are other people running around in this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but it just seems like something that was very tied to the rebels.
Right. And if you are going to do something that is a rebel ship, at least give them an A-wing so he can outmaneuver them. Like,
yeah, this thing is basically but again, they're bombers. We've historically only seen them being the kind of the slower bombers they're just doing bombing runs. Essentially, they're not really there for their speed or over maneuverability.
They literally just gave him this so C-3PO could go.
Yeah, to ride with him.
The only reason, because he wouldn't fit in anything else.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, anyway, he does take some damage, and they are forced back to Deveron, which is where he needs to be, I think. Does sort of land on the outskirts, picks up with just this father-daughter type of thing, if I'm getting that right.
Yes. Remind me quickly, isn't... I'm not big into the Deveronian race, but wasn't there a Deveronian in Mandalorian in the space jail? Okay, so it's that race.
I like how you say space. Yeah, in the space jail. Yes, but yeah.
I think that was a show on Adult Swim at one point, if I remember correctly.
Space jail?
Yeah.
Oh.
Something like that.
That's a deep cut I know nothing about. But yeah, so I don't know. There are Deveronians, but I don't really know.
They seem really evil for the most part.
Well, they look like
almost a devil.
They
race.
look like a devil, you know.
Because the only things you think of when you think Deveronians are like Mos Eisley Spaceport, the grinning one.
Yes, exactly. True.
And then Space Jail.
Well, and the daughter, I don't know if you grow the horns later or if female Deveronians don't have horns, but she has
This is the first time I've seen one.
Yeah, she kind of looks more like an elf, and she's got the rogue skunk stripe hair and everything.
Yeah, and they're not all bald. She proves that.
Yeah. Anyway, they charge a ton of credits to do this. Luke wants to keep out of sight, obviously, and I'm wondering how many credits Luke actually has, because it was like 6,000 for the ship, and then
rent, and then paying for the guides and everything. Like, he's pretty rich for a lieutenant.
I mean, they just loaded him up before he left. I mean, is that what we're talking about here?
Here, take 20,000 credits and the worst possible Y-wing we could give you.
Yeah, have fun, Luke. Go at. Thanks for destroying the Death Star. Anyway, as he is asking around here about the ruins, I mean, literally one of the guys like runs away from him. I guess they're sort of marked as out of bounds. The Empire doesn't want anybody going there because we find out that it's actually a Jedi temple, or that's what we're being told, kind of in a coy way, but we know.
Right. And I love this too because it's almost like an old Western theme at this point.
Yeah, kind of is. Yeah, you're right. So then we have Luke sleeping, and we get to see Luke's sick abs.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed that and thought that was just a bit awkward.
Well, dude, after we pointed out the Hutt abs, we kind of have to point out Luke's abs.
Listen, if a Hutt can have it can have abs. Everyone's just automatically born with abs.
Exactly. So he starts to have another vision of
Kit Fisto.
I mean, we're assuming it's Kit Fisto, right? I mean, I actually don't remember what his race is called. Maybe I should look that up real quick. But we're assuming that because we're Nautolan. Maybe. I'm going to say that.
Honestly, I don't know if I've ever looked up his race because I don't.
That's what it is. I mean, it's.
I'm saying I don't. That does not sound familiar.
Oh, okay.
Whatsoever to me.
Well, I mean, really, I think we've seen.
He's
more.
Really the only one we've seen for the most part.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen more maybe at one point, but yeah, I mean, the big reason why we'd even know anything about him is because of Kit Fisto, or the race would be Kit Fisto, and sort of the awkward live action portrayal. With his giant hands.
I hate what they did with Kit. I like Kit. He was cool.
Yeah, I guess.
I liked all the people in that room that died horribly.
Jeez. Yeah, for sure. But we are kind of making a little bit of a leap here without knowing the full story. But I mean, it looks like Kit Fisto. He's swimming. It's like, oh, I feel so free. And then he goes up this staircase to presumably another Jedi.
Not Obi-Wan. Totally not Obi-Wan at all.
I mean, I'm just saying that would be very interesting if he's having Ben visions. But he
as Kit Fisto.
Yeah, well, he hands maybe Fisto a lightsaber, which
it's not Fisto's hand at this point, by the way. If you actually look at it closely, it does not look like that race.
Listen, I don't know, man. I mean, you can't question stuff that much. I do, however, like the
The dual sons.
No, I like the panel after he sees his son. He's kind of got this like weird little grin on his face, and he's very purple.
Yeah.
I just thought that was little grin. It's kind of funny. So anyway, they start back out the following day. They realize that the daughter is kind of following them. It's like, yeah, I'll take you on my little baby pig thing, and there's not really enough.
Oh, come
room.
on. That thing was super cute. Don't lie to me.
Well, yeah, but it's just like, literally, it's like a baby. It's like,
What are you going to do with it?
He's little, but he's strong. It's like, well, but I can't do everything. It's like, here, take a couple of my million credits, kid, and just get out of here.
I love this panel progression too, because I don't know about you, but usually I skim the art before I read everything. So I'm like, oh, little pig thing. Oh, she has a blaster out on him. Crap, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he does expose his lightsaber, and it looks like, the Deveronians are pretty much against Jedi at this point. It's like, you're one of those sorcerers, aren't you? It's like, no, he explained this kind of in a cool way. I did like the explanation. It's like, no, this is like the connection to my father and so forth. And yeah, I'm not really a Jedi, but I just thought his explanation was interesting.
I'm a sorcerer in training.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, he does hire this guide. What did she call him? The scavenger? Yeah, the scavenger. Yeah. And he has green speech bubbles, so that's important.
And what is the weapon he is holding? Is that a Buster Sword?
Yeah, I thought about
a rocket launcher.
Yeah, I was like, this is totally like a Final Fantasy type weapon or something like that.
Yeah.
Luke goes off with him. It doesn't really turn much into his peril at this point, like the daughter was saying. But I'm gonna skip a little bit of this because to be honest, it's not crazy interesting dialogue at this point with the scavenger. Like literally, they're just going over to a few different places, and then they go to the.
I do like how the scavenger's like, yeah, I'll take you to that ruin. Until you get close to him, like, oh, I'm not taking you there.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially, he completely changes his mind.
Right. Now, they do go down to this, former lake bed, which is dry. It had been dammed. And Luke...
Which is the one that was in his vision,
right.
Of course.
He does find the staircase, and that is essentially where we end. And I got to say, I really appreciate this last, full-page panel with Luke. And kind of like... I like that could be, like, the cover. The cover is fine, but, like, this could totally be a cover. So, yeah, we're obviously done with this issue, but I'm interested to see sort of what this holds for Luke. And we know that Luke did a lot of time finding different temples, figuring out different things about the Jedi that he didn't know.
But you kind of think of that as a post Return of the Jedi thing. You don't really consider everything he did before that.
True, but it brings into a little bit of a relief that maybe it wasn't just his drive to look for them, but also the Force pulling him towards them too.
And it is interesting how we do these visions, these night terrors, essentially, where he's actually living the lives of other Jedi. It's very cool to think that he had that power.
Yeah,
to actually see those visions.
Well, it kind of makes me regret that we didn't go through those journey books. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it kind of makes me regret that a little bit because
I kind of just wrote them off like they wouldn't be that interesting, but now I'm more intrigued by that.
Well, normally those things don't always hold much. I mean, if you just connect,
that's a recap, as if you would assume.
Some of them are, yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're actually getting more stories. So I don't know. We might have to look into more of those Journey 2 books because there were Journey 2 books for every movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, we have done movie tie-in books. There was the Resistance Reborn. Wasn't there another one we had with... no, Resistance Reborn was the one I think I'm thinking about. Anyway, there...
We did do that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There's so many books. There's just so many books. Anyway, I like this comic. I think it's interesting, and I'm wondering if the reason why we like it, kind of like you already stated, is because it's actually
not really a comic.
It's like it was really fleshed out as a book first. So, I'm looking forward to seeing more. and kind of getting more into the lore, man. And
Blur.
hopefully this turns out to be something kind of cool. And this is something we're learning. We don't know much about this, but we're learning. Learning's good.
Yeah. The more you know.
Yeah.
Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, I was about to say you're over Zoom. They can't see you doing the imagination thing, can they? Well, anyway, that's kind of it for our general content here. So, anything else we need to shout out for this episode? I don't really have anything on my end.
Star Wars news is barren right now, so unfortunately, no. Really, I mean, do we have anything really on the horizon other than books? I know there's talks of a new Star Wars game, things of that nature, but we really haven't heard much from any of the facets, really.
No,
of Star Wars
really
right now.
the one medium that has a lot going on right now is the comics. They're just throwing those out at a pretty rapid
Breakneck
rate.
Speed, yeah.
Yeah. And yes, there are more books coming up. We definitely have more on that. Oh, hey, I just remembered another reason why they were bashing Filoni. They were saying that he has been holding Timothy Zahn back.
How?
Well, because we haven't finished
Because
Rebels.
of Rebels?
Yes, because we don't know what happened to Thrawn after they rode the space whales.
I don't think that Filoni's too worried about the conclusion. This is speculation. Pure speculation, obviously. I don't know anything about this truthfully, but I don't think that Thrawn's really that important to Filoni. I don't think he's going to focus on him. I mean, when you think Thrawn, you think Zahn. You don't think Filoni.
Well, but the problem is if you want to keep it in canon, Timothy Zahn can't really write anything else unless he gets the go-ahead from the studio. And,
Well, unless we're
here,
going to get a Rebels live action, why does Filoni care? Or a new season of Rebels?
well,
That's the only reason.
well, okay, but here's the thing. One, if I had one criticism of Dave Filoni is that Rebels did not end, and I know that people have disagreed.
No, it didn't.
And even some of my friends, it was good. It was satisfactory. It's like
No, it wasn't at all.
It's like, no, you don't understand. They left it on a cliffhanger, and then they advanced time to pick up on other things. But he didn't actually finish it. And if you want to say Rebels is finished, great. You're going to have to let us know what happened to Ezra and subsequently Thrawn.
Yeah.
Because
even if it's just they die in that situation, you need to let us know at some point.
True, which is not the case. I
No,
highly doubt
no,
it. But
absolutely not. That'd be super lazy.
But the thing is that I actually would like to hear the story of Thrawn being able to go back to his people and seeing what happened with the threat that we have constantly been reading about now in these sort of prequel titles, which we're going to get another one of those later in the year. And that is the only validity I would throw at it, is that with not finishing that arc, it is holding Timothy Zahn up because he is not able to create the subsequent furtherance of Thrawn until you address what happened to him and Ezra.
True.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that I would say there. But the thing is I do feel like they're going to do that, but I also feel like they really want to push out a bunch of other stuff first. I'm just a little impatient because my favorite series was Rebels, and I think that it deserves to be finally finished. And I don't want it live action finished. I want it finished in cartoon form.
Yeah. And another thing, I mean, even with how much we love Ezra, awesome character, we kind of have to look beyond Rebels too, because we do. Because here's the thing, anything that can threaten the Chiss as a whole is something that's worth telling a story about, and the fact that we're ignoring that is a little annoying.
Well, yeah,
the Chiss are not pushovers. Anything that could devastate them
Well,
could really put a hurting on any other faction in the galaxy.
well, here's the thing. We need to figure out if it actually is a threat because with our last
True.
book, that whole thing seemed really stupid to both
threats
of us.
are non-threats.
Well, it's like, oh yeah, this guy who's like doing stuff behind the scenes, great. They better get more interesting in this last one because they need to. But
Right.
but no, I
Right.
agree. I definitely want to see the Chiss story advance. But again, you cannot do that until you answer what happened to Thrawn, which again, I think is probably what we get in a potential Ahsoka series. Because she is
True.
clearly, as we saw in The Mandalorian, looking for them. And as we also saw at the end of Rebels with her and Sabine, they are going to find him. So you've already set it up. You
Yeah.
just have to execute
Very
it.
well, actually. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's set up perfectly. It is not one of those things where it's like, well, the audience really wants it, so I guess we have to do it. No, you've set it up regardless of audience participation
Yeah.
to be a good series. You really have.
Yeah,
and it could extend way past Thrawn.
Yeah.
You find Ezra, Thrawn's dealt with, and then you go past that, and it's still a good series.
And you know what? Just if you're not gonna do it through live action or cartoon, just write me a book. Just sit down and write me a book. I don't care. I would just like to know. And again, a book would not be proper justification for the majority of people. People want to see what happened,
No.
and I think of everything.
I would enjoy it, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah, and this goes into sort of the direction of Disney, which I don't want to complain about, especially when we're nearing towards the end of an episode. But the thing is what kind of irritates me is that I didn't have any emotion towards like Rangers of the Republic or whatever that was called. I didn't really have any emotion around Bad Batch, which I've sort of changed my tune on. I don't care about Visions. What else was there slated to come out?
You have the what's it called? Acolyte. which
Yeah,
you weren't
I
really
don't.
thrilled about.
I'm not really sure if I care about that right now, and maybe I will. But again, that's supposedly set like at the end of the High Republic, and we're not even towards that in the book. So I think that's coming like way later.
Yeah, that'd be like phase. I guess you call it end of phase 2, maybe phase 3 at this point.
But all I'm saying is that you're perfectly set up to just finish that storyline. Because listen, Timothy Zahn is not George R.R. Martin. That guy writes books.
Oh, he's got things to do, and he's an amazing writer.
Yeah, but he just pounds books out there, man. There is nothing stopping him from.
We've gotten the majority of a saga out of him in a ridiculous amount of time.
Ridiculous. We had one trilogy. This is the second trilogy canon, and then he wrote books that are now non-canon as well. So he
did most of the Thrawn books before.
No, he did all of them.
Correct.
Thrawn is his character. Yeah, he
never did. Nobody ever did Thrawn.
No.
Okay.
He is Thrawn. Which is why he's so OP. It's like, I'm going to make him so OP.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I want to see the conclusion or the advancement of that story. It's like release it, release the story, and let's let these folks go at it. Because like Ezra Bridger is an interesting character. I think he's very easily castable in live action. I think he's. You know, another thing I see complained about is when we continually pop open Jedi who survived the Purge. I've seen complaints about this, like, you know, this person survived and Kanan survived and it's like, you know, well, of course Ahsoka, because for some reason there's a contingent of people that want to see her dead, which doesn't make any sense.
None whatsoever to me.
But Ezra, well, yeah, I mean, Force sensitivity just doesn't go away because you killed the Jedi of that time frame.
Yeah.
I mean, there are going to be more.
He wasn't a Padawan.
No.
And the collectors weren't just the collectors. The Inquisitors weren't necessarily just looking for every Force sensitive. They might stumble across one and deal with them, but that wasn't their target. He's the most logistical survivor. I mean, it makes sense that he survives. Way more than most other Force sensitives.
Well, he didn't display the powers, but like even like Cal Kestis and then the other lady from the comic who showed up in the game. I never remember her name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there is kind of a wild thing out there, and there are some people who just don't want Jedi anymore. But we've always
Well,
appreciated.
then you don't have Star Wars anymore.
Yeah, well,
Truthfully, because everyone wants to act like the rebellion and the war backstory is the thing to be obsessed about with Star Wars. It really isn't. If you didn't have the Jedi, Star Wars would be just as generic as any other space tale, and I will fight that tooth and nail.
Well, but you do have to give credit to movies like Rogue One that is not Jedi centric, and that was
Solo
good.
too.
Well, Solo. The only reason why I didn't automatically say Solo is because of all the hate.
Maul.
You know, well, no, the hate because of the off-center hate from Last Jedi sort of funneling onto Solo, and it doesn't have as big a fan base as Rogue One does.
True, very true.
But yes, I mean also Solo and so forth. But anyway, I think.
And listen, I'm not saying that. A little harsh in that assessment. There's a lot of things that have been spawned from Star Wars that aren't Jedi related. They're amazing. One of them being Thrawn.
Sure.
Thrawn is almost your bridge between fans of Trek and Star Wars, truthfully. I mean, Thrawn's in his own category.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the Force. I mean, and I love Thrawn.
Well,
he's one of my favorite characters.
Right, but the unfortunate thing about Thrawn is so many people are going to be a little up in arms about that because, well, he's a Mary Sue.
Mary Sue.
Yeah. He always beats everybody. He beats me, Mommy.
So does Luke.
Well,
No one called him a Mary Sue.
well, he did in the books.
Yeah.
I mean, can't necessarily apply that to everything.
True.
He drinks a lot of milk.
Yeah.
He's a big milk drinker. All right. Well, I think we've gotten really gripey about some of this stuff. So let's maybe go ahead and start wrapping up. But anything else we need to discuss while we have some time here?
No, I believe we've hit everything.
Cool. Well, folks, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. As always, make sure that you are following us on the social media. We are on Facebook. You can find us at Twitter at TC Plan Podcast. Or if you just like to send us a transmission, to be read here, or give us some of your story, whatever you want to do. But you can send us a good old email to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. We'd be more than happy to talk about those. And, you guys have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.